You're watching The Morning Show on CKWS.
Good Thursday morning to you. Welcome back. Dave Hallett joins us. He is a Rotarian here in Kingston, and we're going to be talking about shelter boxes and how they were sort of created by Rotarians a while ago, and how you are assisting hurricane-ravaged areas of the Caribbean. A very important item, the shelter box. But let's talk about your experiences first of all with the Rotarians and where the shelter box idea came from.
Well, ShelterBox was actually started by a Rotary Club in the UK back in 2000, and over the course of time, the ShelterBox has been picked up by excuse me, Rotary clubs around the world, and it has since grown into its own freestanding charity, and now in the UK and in 18 countries around the world. And we deploy hundreds of thousands of shelter boxes and shelter kits around the world every year to natural disaster areas, conflict zones, and anybody who's basically lost their home and needs help.
We've all seen the footage of Hurricane Harry and of course Irma, and what they have done to parts of Florida, of course Texas and islands in the Caribbean. Just total devastation. You've seen firsthand other natural disasters and have implemented shelter boxes for people in need as well.
Yeah, I've been doing this for almost 10 years now, and I've been deployed into areas after earthquakes in the Philippines, after Typhoon Haiyan, and the devastation when you go places and you see that the infrastructure basically fails. You can't drive anywhere because the trees are falling down. There's no electricity.
There's no water. Something as simple that we take for granted as drinking water.
That's very true. And so in our shelter boxes, we actually provide family water purification kits, so that families who can maybe get to a well and don't know whether it's safe or not, they can use the purification kits to filter the water, so they know when they give water for cooking or for their children that it's going to be safe.
This isn't a knapsack size item either.
No, it's not.
It can shelter how many people?
Well, we gear it per family, you know, so anywhere from 6 to 10 people in a family. Shelter box is about this big. It's 55 kilos when it's full. It's got a tent, it's got sleeping blankets, it's got pots and pans, all the kind of gear that a family would need if they return to where their home was and it's not there anymore.
Wow.
We also provide shelter kits now as well, and shelter kits are for those people who have homes, you know, maybe a portion of their roof blew away, but the rest of their house is still there, so we give them equipment to cover that hole in their roof, and nails and hammer and rope and those sorts of things, so that they can repair their home temporarily, because we're an emergency shelter. And then as the local government sort of gets things back under control and they can start delivering aid to their own communities, then they can repair their homes more permanently.
Share some of the stories with some of the families that you have directly helped.
Well, you know, last spring in June, I was in Colombia after they had a natural disaster. So just like we had a lot of rain this spring, they had a lot of rain as well.
And this created huge landslides.
It created huge landslides, and this was my first experience going to a landslide area. And to see boulders the size of these couches that had gone through homes and just taken out the basements of homes, and it was I can imagine how terrifying it was, because it happened at about midnight. So many of these people would have been asleep, and then this mountainside just decides to start coming down the mountain after a natural reservoir in the mountain collapsed, and just tons of rock, tons of water just comes rushing down the mountainside. And you know, in many of these communities, there's a community, then a little further down the mountain there's another community, a little further down there's another community, and it just comes down the mountain and just wipes them all out. And so we were there with our shelter boxes and shelter kits, repairing some homes, giving shelter boxes, because a lot of these people, they have to stay basically where they are, because they're farming on the land, and you know, they can't get transported 50 miles away to a place and still look after their crops or their farm animals or whatever it is. So we give them equipment so they can stay right on the land.
Well, you know, it goes without saying, the Rotarians do great work in so many different ways here at home and, of course, right around the world. So when someone makes a donation to the Rotarians, this is a great way to know where your money is going.
It really is.
Because these things aren't cheap.
No, they're not. You know, a full shelter box, we raised $1,200 to pay for a full shelter box, and that includes not only the gear that's in it, but sending people like myself to the area so that we can give it away, so that we're not just shipping gear and hoping that it arrives in the right spot. We're actually hand delivering it. And I've been there and I've delivered gear and had, you know, grandmothers come up afterwards and shake my hand and say thank you in whatever native language they're in. And you just see the gratitude and the help that you're giving to these people. And so when you give money to ShelterBox, so you know, shelterboxcanada.org is a great place to go, and you can donate for ShelterBox, and you know that the gear is going to get there. And it's being supported by Rotary clubs around the world, so there's many Rotary clubs here in Kingston, Napanee, Gananoque, others who also give of the money that they raise. They give it to ShelterBox so that we can be ready and give this stuff away.
Well, you have a presence right now in the Caribbean, and we thank you for being such a great spirit. Thank you so much, and to the Rotarians as well.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me.
Good job, Dave. Thank
All
you.
right.
Stay with us. Still so much more here on The Morning Show. We'll see you after the break. Good morning to you.